I had barely retired when my daughter-in-law walked in and said, "I have decided that I am going to sell your car. After all, you do not need it for anything anymore." I just smiled. The next morning, my car was gone because I had given it to someone who truly deserved it. And just like that, she was left speechless. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I had just returned from school with my last box of belongings, photographs of generations of students and faded diplomas, a mug that said Teacher of the Year 1998, 40 years teaching at a public elementary school in the neighborhood, my beloved Lincoln Elementary. Although around here we all just called it the little school on the corner. 40 years of waking up at 5 in the morning. 40 years of wiping runny noses, curing scraped knees, and teaching children to read who arrived without even knowing how to write their own names. And now, at 67 years old, my retirement had finally arrived. I was organizing my pension documents on the dining room table when I heard the door open without anyone knocking. Not a knock, not a good afternoon, nothing. Just the whine of the hinges and the sharp click-clack of her heels against the tile floor. Jessica entered my house like someone entering conquered territory. She was wearing that navy blue dress she always wears when she wants to look important. Her hair was pulled back in a bun so tight it looked like it was pulling her skin. And that cold look I learned to recognize over the last 3 years. That calculating, measuring look that evaluates what she can get out of every situation. She did not greet me. She just planted herself in front of me with her arms crossed and one knee slightly forward as if I were an employee waiting for instructions. "Emily," she said, using my first name without the respect any daughter-in-law should have. "I have made an important decision. I am going to sell your car. You do not need it for anything anymore. A retired woman of your age has no business driving around the city. It is dangerous." Besides, she continued, "Michael and I need that money for the down payment on a bigger condo. Just like that, without asking, without consulting. Like someone deciding what to do with an old piece of furniture that is in the way. My silver sedan, that 2010 model I bought with so much effort after saving for 2 years, tutoring on Saturdays and selling pies on the corner on Sundays. That car took me to school every morning. It transported my son when he was a boy. It carried groceries for needy families. It witnessed my tears when I became a widow and my laughter when Michael graduated. I felt a void in my stomach, a hole that opened up like a crack during an earthquake. But something strange happened. Instead of crying, instead of screaming, instead of begging, I smiled. A small, calm smile that must have unsettled her because I saw how she slightly furrowed her brow. "Did you hear me?" she asked with that tone she uses when she thinks someone is not understanding her orders. "I heard you perfectly, Jessica." I replied with a calmness that surprised even me. "Good. Tomorrow I will be here for the keys at 10 in the morning. I already have a buyer. He will give you $4,500. It is a good price for such an old car." $4,500 that I was sure would never reach my hands. She turned around and left just as she had entered without saying goodbye, leaving only the scent of her expensive perfume and the weight of her words like stones on my chest. I closed the door. I stood there in the middle of my living room, surrounded by my retirement boxes, feeling the walls of my own house closing in on me. But that smile did not disappear because Jessica had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She had just awakened something in me that had been asleep for too long, my dignity, and what she did not know. What no one in my family knew was that I had an ace up my sleeve, a secret I had kept for 25 years, a card I was about to play, but they did not know it yet. The next morning, my car would disappear from the garage, but not for the reasons Jessica imagined. If you want to know how this retired teacher taught the hardest lesson to the person who tried to take everything from her stay until the end, and if this story resonates with you, subscribe to the channel to keep sharing real-life stories that will make you feel you are not alone in your battles. because what came next changed everything. And I swear Jessica never saw what was about to happen coming. I should have seen the signs when Jessica entered our family like a hurricane disguised as a breeze. But a mother always wants to believe the best of the person who makes her son smile, even if that smile is fake. It was February of the year 2022. Michael was 42 years old, and I had already lost hope of seeing him married. Not because he was not a good man, but because he was too good, too noble, too naive. The kind of person who believes everything they are told, who never suspects the intentions of others, who thinks the world is as honest as he is. I raised him alone since he was 7 years old when his father died in a construction accident. We did not receive a single dollar of compensation. Nothing. It was just him and me. An elementary school teacher with a salary of $1,500 a month, and a boy who had just lost his dad. Those were hard years, very hard. I remember the early mornings preparing his lunch at 5 a.m., ironing his uniform while he slept inventing games so he would not notice we did not have money for toys. I remember selling cupcakes at school, sewing for the neighbors, giving tutoring sessions until 11 at night to pay for his college. Michael studied accounting, graduated with honors, and got a job at a medium-sized firm in a decent neighborhood. He did not earn much, around $3,000 a month, but he was stable, responsible, a good man, just very lonely, until she arrived. Jessica appeared one day in April at his office, a health insurance saleswoman, 28 years old, almost 15 years younger than my son. Tall, thin, with that type of cold and intimidating beauty, straight shoulder-length hair, perfectly manicured nails, clothes that made it clear she knew exactly the effect she caused. Michael introduced her to me 3 weeks later. I still remember that afternoon. I prepared a beef stew, mashed potatoes, and green beans. I set my embroidered tablecloth, the one I only used on special occasions. I wanted to make a good impression. I wanted her to see that my son came from a family with values from a warm home. Jessica arrived late, 40 minutes late. She did not even apologize. She sat at my table, looked at the stew as if it were something suspicious, and said, "Oh, I hardly eat. I am watching my figure." Michael laughed nervously. I swallowed the comment like someone swallowing glass. During that meal, Jessica did exactly 3 things. Checked her phone every 2 minutes, talked about how expensive everything was in the city compared to the big city she came from, and asked with a smile that did not reach her eyes if I had ever thought about selling my house. "You know, this area is appreciating a lot," she said, running her finger along the rim of her water glass. "A property like this, although small and let us say traditional, could be worth about $250,000, maybe more. Have you ever considered it, Emily? Emily? Not Mrs. Roberts, not Mom, just Emily, as if we were friends of the same age." Michael looked at her enraptured, as if every word out of her mouth were divine wisdom. I smiled politely and changed the subject. But that night after they left, I sat in my kitchen until 2 in the morning with a knot in my stomach that I could not explain. 6 months later, they got married. 6 months. Not even a proper courtship. Michael called me to give me the news like someone announcing they bought a new car. Excited. Rushed. Without letting me say a single word. "Mom Jessica is amazing. She makes me so happy. We are getting married at City Hall next Saturday. Something simple. Just you and 2 of her witnesses. Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy because they did not have money for a wedding. Or rather, because Michael did not have money. Because later I discovered that Jessica had debts. A lot of debts. Credit cards maxed out with designer clothes. A personal loan of $3,500 she never paid. And a history of jobs that lasted at most 6 months before she was fired or quit. But I did not know any of that yet. On the wedding day, I brought a homemade cheesecake. Jessica did not even taste it. She said it had too many calories. And from that day on, my son started to disappear. Not physically, but in essence. The Sundays he always came to dinner began to be less frequent. First every 2 weeks, then once a month, then almost never. When I asked him, he always had the same excuse. Jessica has plans, Mom. You know how wives are. No, I did not know. Because I was a wife, and I never kept my husband away from his mother. The calls that used to be daily turned into short text messages. Busy, Mom. Call you later. But he never called. And when I finally visited them in their rented 2-bedroom apartment in a middle-class neighborhood, I felt Jessica measuring every minute of my presence, like someone counting the seconds for an unwanted guest to leave. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was seeing how Michael repeated her words like a trained parrot. Mom, do not you think you should think about moving to a smaller place? Maintaining a house is a lot of work for a single woman. Mom, Jessica says you should think about your future. Where are you going to live when you are older? Mom, is it true you have savings? Because if so, you could help us with the down payment for a better apartment. My son, my boy, the one I raised with so much sacrifice. Now he was the echo of a woman who barely knew him, and I stayed silent. I nodded, I smiled, because I was afraid that if I said something, if I confronted him, if I complained, I would lose him forever. So I swallowed every hurtful comment, every insinuation, every disrespect disguised as concern until that Tuesday of my retirement. Until Jessica crossed the line she should never have crossed. And it was there when something inside me said enough. But before everything exploded, things got much worse. Because Jessica did not just want my car, she wanted my whole life. It was not a stab in the back. It was a slow poisoning designed so no one would notice except me. The 2 years following their wedding were like watching water erode a stone drop by drop day after day, until one day you wake up and there is nothing solid left to hold on to. It all started with the loans. The first loan was 6 months after the wedding. A call from Michael with a voice loaded with shame. Mom, could you lend us $500? Jessica had some unexpected medical expenses. We will pay you back next month. I promise. $500, almost a third of my monthly check. But he was my son. Of course I gave it to them. They never paid me back. 3 months later. Mom, we need $1,200 to fix Jessica's car. The engine broke down. Is it urgent or she will lose her job? $1,200 that I took from my emergency savings. They did not pay me back either. Then it was $2,000 for an incredible investment opportunity. Jessica had found a multi-level marketing beauty business that promised returns of 300%. Mom, this is going to change our lives. In 6 months, we will pay you triple. That business went bust in 2 months. Jessica never mentioned it again, and I never saw those $2,000 again. In total, during those 2 years, I lent them $7,300. $7,300 from a retired teacher earning $1,600 a month in pension. But the money was not the worst part. The worst part was how Jessica started getting into my life like a poisonous vine. It started with casual visits when I was not home. Michael had always had a copy of my keys for emergencies, but now Jessica used them to enter when I was tutoring or shopping. I would arrive and find things moved, drawers open, papers shuffled. "Oh, Emily, we just stopped by to drop this off." And I took the chance to look for that receipt you asked me for, Jessica would say on the phone with that sweet voice she used when she knew she had done something wrong. But I had never asked her for any receipt. She was searching, reviewing, investigating. What was she looking for? I did not know yet. Then came the comments about my house. "Oh, Mom, do not you think this house is too big for you alone? It has 3 bedrooms and you only use 1. It is a waste. This area is dangerous for an older woman living alone. Have you thought about moving to a building with security? Safer, more practical. A 1-bedroom apartment would cost you $1,200 a month in rent, and you could sell this house. Imagine all that money in the bank. Money that casually she could help me manage." Michael sat there nodding like a puppet. The family Sundays that used to be sacred turned into interrogations disguised as conversation. "So how much do you get from your pension, Emily? Do you have life insurance? In whose name is it? Have you made a will yet? Because you should, huh? At your age, you never know. At my age, as if I were 90 years old, I was 65. I was healthier than many women of 40. But for Jessica, I was already a useless old woman waiting to die. And Michael said nothing. He never said anything. The worst moment came one Sunday in November. We were eating chili that I had been preparing since 6 in the morning. Michael had seconds twice. Jessica barely touched her plate, as always, and then midway through the meal, she dropped the bomb. Emily, Michael, and I have been thinking. We believe it would be best for you, for your well-being, that you consider the option of moving to a senior living residence. My blood ran cold. A residence, I asked, unable to believe what I was hearing. Yes, she replied. But not just any. A good one where there are nurses' activities, people your age where you are not alone all day. It is the best for you. The best for me. No, the best for her. An empty house she could sell or rent. Mom. It is not a bad idea, Michael murmured without looking me in the eye. You would have more company. Company. Me who had spent 40 years surrounded by children, colleagues, parents. Me who had friends, neighbors, a life. They wanted to lock me up in a home as if I were already senile. I am not going to any residence, I said, with a firmness that surprised even me. This is my house. I bought it with my own work, and here I am, going to stay. Jessica pursed her lips. Michael lowered his gaze. They did not mention the subject again that day, but I knew they had not given up. In the following days, Jessica started a new strategy: humiliate me in public. At a family gathering at my cousin Helen's house, Jessica said in front of everyone, "Oh, cousin, take good care of Emily. You know how old people are. They forget things. The other day, she left the stove on and almost burned down the house. A lie. I had never left the stove on. But everyone looked at her with concern and at me with pity." On another occasion at the supermarket, I ran into a former colleague. Jessica, who had accompanied me that day to carry the bags, told her, "Mrs. Lucy, so good to see you. Hey, do not you know a good neurologist? Emily has been very forgetful lately. Michael and I are worried. I was not forgetful. My mind was clearer than ever. But Jessica was building a narrative painting me as a senile old woman who needed guardians. And the worst part, Michael did not defend me. He never defended me. One day I confronted him when he came alone to bring some medicine I'd asked for. "Michael, why do you let Jessica talk like that about me?" He stayed silent, looking at the floor like when he was a boy and did something wrong. "She does not speak ill of you, Mom. She is just worried. Worried. She is making it look like I am crazy. Do not exaggerate, Mom. Jessica loves you very much. She only wants the best for you, the best for me." That phrase again. In that moment, I realized something terrible. I had lost my son, not the physical Michael, but the Michael I knew. The noble boy, the grateful young man, the good man. That Michael had been replaced by a stranger who repeated his wife's words as if they were absolute truths. That night I cried. I cried like I had not cried since my husband's death. Because losing a child to death is painful, but losing him while he is still alive is unbearable. And when I thought it could not hurt any more, the day of my retirement arrived. The day Jessica decided my car was no longer mine. That was the day something inside me died, and something new, something stronger was born. There was a secret I had kept for 25 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. That moment was about to arrive, but to understand why that secret was so important, I need to take you 25 years back to 1999, the year I met Mr. Stephen Morgan. Mr. Morgan lived in the house next door. A small one-story house with a little garden in front, painted pale yellow with a purple bougainvillea climbing all over the facade. He had been a widower for 10 years. No children, no close family, just him, his memories, and his rose bushes. He was 73 when we met. I was 42 and had just become a widow. We became friends by chance. One afternoon, I saw him struggling with some grocery bags while trying to open his door. I went to help him. He invited me for coffee. I accepted. That cup of coffee became a ritual. Every Saturday afternoon after doing my shopping, I stopped by his house. Mr. Morgan prepared coffee with cinnamon and brown sugar. I brought sweet bread from the bakery on the corner. We sat in his small living room full of black and white photographs and talked about everything. Life, death. God, loneliness. He confessed things to me he had never told anyone. How much he missed his wife. Hope. How it hurt to wake up every morning in an empty bed. How the silence of a house without voices is the heaviest sound in the world. And I told him my fears. Fear of not being able to raise Michael alone. Fear of growing old without company. Fear that my life would be reduced only to working and surviving. Mr. Morgan listened to me with those wise eyes that only people who have lived a lot and suffered more have. Emily, he told me once, life takes a lot from us, but if you pay attention, it also gives you signs of who deserves your trust and who does not. Always keep an ace up your sleeve. Always. I did not understand that phrase until years later. Over time, Mr. Morgan started needing more help. Small things at first, picking up his medicine from the pharmacy, accompanying him to the doctor, getting his groceries when it rained hard. I did it with pleasure, expecting nothing in return because he reminded me of my own father who died when I was 23. But Mr. Morgan did not just have the yellow house where we lived. He had another property, one he had bought in the 70s when a quiet town near here was still cheap and peaceful. A large lot with a 2-story house, a garden with fruit trees, and a 3-car garage. He bought it thinking of retiring there with his wife. But Hope died before they could move, and he never had the heart to go alone. He rented that property for a few hundred a month, enough to supplement his pension. Years passed. Mr. Morgan turned 80, then 83, then 85. His health worsened. Diabetes, high blood pressure, knees destroyed by arthritis. I went every day. I cooked for him. I gave him his medicine. I bathed him when he could no longer do it alone. I accompanied him to the hospital in every emergency. Michael, who was 17 then, also helped him. He mowed the lawn, fixed things, read him the newspaper when Mr. Morgan could no longer see well. That boy of yours has a heart of gold, Emily, he would tell me. You raised him well, very well. In 2009, Mr. Morgan suffered a heart attack. He survived, but was left very weak. One afternoon in October, he called me to his house. He was sitting in his favorite armchair, the brown leather one that creaked every time he moved. He had a manila envelope in his hands. Sit down, Emily. I sat in front of him, my heart tight. I knew something important was coming. I am 90 years old. I do not have much time left. The doctors gave me 6 months, maybe less. My eyes filled with tears. I had come to love him like a father. I want you to know something, he continued. I have 2 nephew sons of my brother who died 20 years ago. They live in another state. Do you know how many times they have visited me in these last 10 years? I shook my head. None. 0. They call me once a year at Christmas just to comply. Nothing more. He opened the envelope and took out some papers. This is the deed to my property in the vacation town. It is worth about $400,000 according to the latest appraisal. I also have savings, $45,000 in the bank. I froze. Mr. Morgan, why are you telling me this? Because I want it to be yours. Everything. The house, the money. You have been the only real family I have had in these years. You and Michael. I cannot accept that I said immediately, what about your nephews? My nephews left me to die alone. You gave me dignity in my last years. It is already decided. I went to the lawyer last week. Everything is in your name. Legal, signed, sealed. I cried. I cried so much my chest hurt. But I want to ask you something. Mr. Morgan continued. Do not tell anyone. Anyone. Not even Michael. Not yet. Wait. Watch. Life will show you who deserves to know and who does not. Why? Because money changes people, Emily. It brings out the worst in them. You are good, too good, and good people are easy prey for vultures. So keep it as an ace up your sleeve. And when the moment comes when someone treats you like trash, when someone thinks you have nothing, when someone tries to take your dignity, then you take it out and show them that you were always stronger than they believed. Mr. Morgan died 3 months later in January of 2010. His 2 nephews appeared at the funeral dressed in suits, asking about the inheritance. The lawyer informed them that everything had been left to Emily Roberts. Me. They almost sued me. They said I had manipulated him, that I was a gold digger, that I surely had blackmailed him. But all the papers were in order. Mr. Morgan had even left a letter explaining his reasons. The judge threw out the case. The nephews disappeared. I never heard from them again, and I did exactly what Mr. Morgan asked me. I kept the secret. I did not tell anyone, not my family, not my closest friends, no one. I kept the house rented. I raised the rent over the years. Now it generated more than $1,000 a month, which went directly to a bank account separate from the one everyone knew about. For 15 years, that money grew. I invested it carefully. I finished paying off the mortgage on my house. I saved. I waited. I waited to see who loved me for who I am not, for what I have. Michael passed the test for years. He was a good son, grateful, loving, until Jessica arrived. And then I saw my son transform into a stranger who saw me as a source of resources, as a property that had to be managed, as a burden that had to be removed from the path. Mr. Morgan was right. Money brings out the worst in people, and I had the perfect ace up my sleeve, an ace I was about to show. Because when Jessica entered my house that Tuesday demanding my car keys, when she treated me like a useless old woman, when she thought she could take what little I had left, she made the stupidest decision of her life. Because she did not know who she was messing with, and I was ready to prove it. My retirement should have been a celebration. It turned into my living funeral. It had been exactly a week before the car incident, a Friday afternoon. Michael had called me that morning with that forced, cheerful voice he used when Jessica dictated what to say. "Mom, we want to celebrate your retirement." Jessica is organizing a special lunch at our apartment this Sunday at 2. Do not be late, I should have suspected. But a part of me, that foolish part that still had hope, thought that maybe, just maybe, my son remembered who I was, what I meant to him, how naive I was. That Sunday, I got ready with care. I put on my sky blue dress, the one Michael had given me 3 years ago for my birthday. I applied soft pink lipstick. I combed my gray hair, which I now wore short at shoulder length. I wanted to look good, dignified. I brought a carrot cake I had been baking since 6 in the morning, Michael's favorite since he was a child. When I arrived at their apartment, I knocked on the door with my heart racing, hope mixed with fear. Michael opened. He gave me a quick mechanical hug. One of those hugs given out of obligation, not love. "Come in, Mom." The apartment smelled of supermarket rotisserie chicken, not homemade food. Jessica was sitting in the living room with her laptop open on the coffee table. She was wearing gray sweatpants and a white blouse. She had not even bothered to dress up for the celebration. She did not get up to greet me. "Hello, Emily. Leave the cake in the kitchen." Not a "what a nice cake," nor a "thanks for taking the trouble." Nothing. I left the cake in the kitchen and returned to the living room. I sat in the armchair, the furthest from the two who were together on the main sofa, as if they were judges, and I the accused. Well, Mom Michael started clearing his throat nervously. "Jessica and I want to talk to you about something important." Jessica turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was an Excel sheet. Numbers, calculations, percentages. "Emily, we made a life plan for you so your retirement is more comfortable and secure." A life plan made by her without consulting me. "What kind of plan?" I asked, feeling my stomach tighten. Jessica smiled, that shark smile she used when she thought she had everything under control. "Look, we analyzed your financial situation. Your pension is $1,600 a month, right?" I had not told that amount to anyone. How did she know? Then I remembered my retirement papers, the ones I was reviewing last Tuesday when she entered without knocking. She had seen them, probably took photos. "That is correct," I replied with a cold voice. "Good. So here is the plan," she pointed at the screen. "First, we are going to sell your car. It is a 2010 sedan. According to the quotes I got, we can get $4,500 for it. It is not much, but it helps." "Wait," I interrupted. "We are going to sell. Who is we?" "Well, you obviously," said Jessica impatiently, as if I were stupid. "But we are going to help you with the paperwork because you do not understand these things." I took a deep breath. I still said nothing. "Second point," she continued. "Your pension, $1,600. It is a good income for a single person, but we believe you should contribute to the family. Michael is your only son. He took good care of you. You raised him, but now it is time to give back. Give back." As if raising a child were a commercial transaction, we propose that you donate 60% of your monthly pension to help us. That is $960. You would be left with $640 more than enough for your basic expenses if you live modestly. $640 to pay electricity, water, gas, phone, food, medicine, emergencies. And exactly how would that help me? I asked. How would you be helping your family? Emily, replied Jessica with that condescending tone used with small children. Michael and I need to save for the down payment on a bigger condo. We want to have children soon. Your future grandchild is going to need space. Future grandchild. Using a baby that did not even exist as emotional blackmail. Michael looked at the floor. Coward. A complete coward. Third point. Jessica printed a sheet and handed it to me. We need you to sign a power of attorney. It is just for safety. In case something happens to you, Michael will be able to handle your legal and financial affairs without complications. A power of attorney. Full access to my house, my accounts, my documents. And if I do not want to sign. Jessica let out a fake, uncomfortable little laugh. Oh, Emily, do not be stubborn. This is for your own good. At your age, things can happen very fast. An accident, an illness. Do you want Michael to have to struggle with bureaucrats while you are in the hospital? Think with logic. Logic. She talked about logic while planning to leave me with nothing. And when do you need my answer? Now would be ideal. I have the appointment with the lawyer scheduled for Tuesday. Of course. She already had everything arranged without asking me, without considering me. I need to think about it, I said, getting up from the armchair. Mom, sit down, Michael said, finally looking at me for the first time. We have not eaten. I am not hungry. But you brought cake. Leave it for Jessica. Maybe she will appreciate it. I took my purse and walked to the door. Emily, you are being very childish, Jessica yelled at my back. We just want to help you. I did not turn around. I did not answer. I went down the building stairs with my legs trembling. I got to my car. I sat behind the wheel, and right there in that parking lot with the engine off and the windows closed, I broke. I cried like I had not cried in years, deep sobs coming from my stomach, tears soaking my sky blue dress, the one Michael had given me when he was still my son. It was not about the money. It was never about the money. It was because my son, my only son, the boy I raised alone, the one I hugged so many nights when he cried missing his father, the same one who on every birthday told me, "You are the best mom in the world," that son now saw me as a burden, as a source of resources, as something to manage, not as a mother, but as a liability. I drove back home without even remembering the way. I entered my empty living room, sat in my armchair, and stayed there in the dark, looking at the photographs on the wall. Michael at 5 years old in his elementary uniform. Michael at 15 at his middle school graduation. Michael at 24 the day he received his accounting degree. In all those photos, I was by his side, smiling, proud. At what moment did I become his enemy? I grabbed my cell phone, almost dialed, almost gave in, almost told them, okay, keep it all. I will sign whatever you want, just do not abandon me. But then my gaze fell on Mr. Morgan's photo that I had on my small altar next to the Virgin of Guadalupe, and my husband's photo. Mr. Morgan looked at me with those wise eyes, and I remembered his words. Vultures only respect those who fly higher than them. I put down the phone. I went to the closet. From the bottom behind old shoe boxes, I took out a metal box with a padlock. I opened it. There they were, all the documents. The deed to the house in the vacation town, the bank statements, the investments, the proof that I was not the vulnerable old lady Jessica imagined. I took out my cell phone and dialed a number I had kept saved for years. Mr. Bermudez. This is Emily Roberts. I need to update my will. Could you see me tomorrow? Of course, Mrs. Roberts, at 11. Perfect. I hung up and smiled for the first time in weeks, a smile that was not of joy but of determination, because Jessica had just awakened something in me that had been asleep too long, my dignity. And I was about to remind everyone that Emily Roberts was not a victim. She was a survivor, and survivors do not give up. They fight. That night I cried all the tears I had held back in 40 years of being strong. It was 3 a.m. I could not sleep. Insomnia had become my most faithful companion since that disastrous Sunday lunch. I got out of bed, put on my old cotton robe, and walked barefoot to the living room. The house was completely silent, that heavy silence only known to those who live alone, the silence that amplifies every thought, every fear, every pain. I sat in the armchair. I hugged my knees to my chest like a scared little girl, and I looked at the photographs filling the shelf next to the TV. There was Michael everywhere. Baby Michael wrapped in his blue blanket, Michael at 3 with his red tricycle, Michael at 7, the day his father died, clinging to my skirt with eyes swollen from crying so much. I took that photo in my hands. I studied it as if I could find answers in that boy frozen in time. Where was that boy now? At what moment did I lose him? I remembered the day of his father's accident. Charles, my husband for 12 years, bricklayer, honest to the bone, one of those men who share their sandwich with any coworker who did not bring lunch. He fell from a scaffold on the 5th floor, died instantly. The construction company gave us nothing. They said it had been his negligence that he had not put the harness on correctly. Lies. But we were poor without lawyers, without a voice. I was left alone with Michael, 7 years old, 1st grade. I remember that first night without Charles. Michael could not sleep. He climbed into my bed crying, "Mommy, why did my daddy go away? He did not go away, my love. He had to go to heaven. And why did not he take us? Because we have to stay here. But he watches over us from above." That night, I promised him something. I whispered it in his ear while rocking him in my arms. I promise you will never lack anything. I promise you will have an education. I promise you will have a better life than your dad and I had. I promise you. And I kept my promise. Boy, did I keep it. I broke my back working. I worked double shifts when I could. Teacher in the morning at the public school, private lessons in the afternoons. On Saturdays, I sold pies. I started baking at 4 a.m. On Sundays, I washed clothes for other people. Michael never knew how many times I went to bed without dinner so he could have breakfast. He never knew how many times I pawned my gold earrings, my chain, my wedding ring to pay for his school supplies. He never knew I sold the only TV we had to pay for his college admission exam. I protected him from all that. I wanted his childhood to be as normal as possible so he would not carry the guilt of our poverty. And I succeeded. Michael graduated as an accountant with honors. I was in the front row on his graduation day clapping until my hands hurt, with eyes flooded with pride. After the ceremony, he hugged me tight like when he was a boy. "Mom, everything I am is because of you. Everything. I will never forget it. I promise you." Where did that promise go? Where was that man who hugged me 20 years ago? I wiped my tears with the back of my hand, but they kept coming out like an overflowing river. Because the pain was not just for Michael, it was for everything. For the years of sacrifice that now seemed worth nothing. For the sleepless nights caring for him when he had a fever. for the times I walked in the rain because I did not even have bus fare, for the birthdays I spent alone because I was working so he could have his, for the life I did not live because I invested it in him, and now he saw me as a burden. I picked up my cell phone. It was 3:15 in the morning. I dialed Jessica's number. My finger trembled over the call button. I almost did it. I almost called her to tell her, "Okay, you won. Keep the car, the money, whatever you want. Just do not take my son from me. Just let me be part of his life." Because that was what hurt the most. Not losing the money. Not losing the car. Losing Michael. My finger was millimeters from pressing the button, but then my gaze drifted to the altar in the corner of the living room. There was the virgin my mom had given me when I got married. The flickering candle cast shadows on the photographs, the photo of Charles, my husband, with his huge smile and hands full of calluses from working so much, the photo of my parents already deceased, my mother with her flowered apron, my father with his straw hat, and the photo of Mr. Morgan with his beige sweater and thick glasses looking at me with that wisdom only life gives. Mr. Morgan. I remembered a conversation we had shortly before his death. We were in his garden. He was watering his roses. I was helping him hold the hose because his hands no longer had strength. "Emily, do you know the difference between kindness and foolishness? No, Mr. Morgan. Kindness is giving when you have to give. Foolishness is continuing to give when they are robbing you. Kindness is helping someone who needs it. Foolishness is letting yourself be used by someone who only wants to take advantage. And how do you know which is which? When someone you claim to love treats you worse than a stranger, there you have your answer." I got up from the armchair, put the phone away, walked to the altar, and lit a new candle. "Mr. Morgan," I whispered in the stillness, "you told me to keep my ace up my sleeve. You told me to wait for the right moment. I think that moment has arrived." The silence of the house seemed to answer me not with words, but with certainty. I went back to my room. From the closet, I took out the metal box. I opened it on the bed. Documents. The proof of my true net worth. The deed to the house now valued at $400,000. The bank statements, $45,000 saved in 15 years. The rent records, more than $1,000 a month for the last 10 years. I took a calculator and started adding up everything Jessica and Michael did not know existed. The total left me breathless, more than $445,000. Me, the useless retired teacher. The old lady who needed help managing her affairs. The woman they wanted to force to sign a power of attorney to control her. I had almost $500,000 and they had no idea. A part of me, the weak part, still felt guilty. Still thought, but he is my son, I should share this with him. But then I remembered his eyes on Sunday. Those eyes that looked at me not as a mother, but as merchandise. I remembered how he did not defend me when Jessica humiliated me. I remembered the $7,300 I lent him and he never paid back. I remembered every poisonous comment of Jessica's that he allowed, and something inside me hardened like cement drying under the sun. Michael had made his choice. He chose Jessica. He chose greed. He chose to treat me like a burden. Now I would make mine. I took out my address book. I looked for a name. Lucy Cardenas. Lucy, my former student, one of the best students I had in 40 years of teaching, brilliant, hardworking dreamer. Life hit her hard. At 23, she had a son, Sebastian, with cerebral palsy. The father disappeared as soon as he found out about the diagnosis. Now, Lucy was 28. She worked cleaning houses, 5 houses a day from 6 in the morning until 9 at night, earning $50 per house, $250 a day, when she managed to do all 5 houses, all to pay for Sebastian's therapies. Physical therapy 3 times a week, $100 per session. She did not have a car. She took Sebastian on the bus, 3 buses, an hour-and-a-half commute there, and another back with a 5-year-old boy in a wheelchair. I saw her from time to time. I brought her groceries. I gave her some money when I could, but never enough. I looked at the clock. It was 4 in the morning. I would wait until 7 to call her. I went back to bed. This time, I managed to sleep 2 hours. When I woke up, it was a new day, and I was a new Emily one who was no longer going to ask permission to defend her dignity. While they planned to strip me, I had already moved all the pieces on the board. At 7 sharp, I dialed Lucy's number. The phone rang 4 times before she answered. Hello? Her voice sounded tired. She'd probably been up for an hour getting Sebastian ready for the day. Lucy, this is Mrs. Roberts, teacher. Her voice lit up immediately. How are you? Is everything okay? Everything is fine, my child. Listen, I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come to my house today around 9? There was a pause. I heard the noise of dishes in the background. Well, teacher, I have 4 houses scheduled today. I cannot miss because they pay me the full day. $250. I just need 2 hours of your time. Another pause. Longer. Is everything okay, teacher? Did something bad happen? I laughed. A genuine laugh for the first time in days. On the contrary, Lucy, if anything, something very good is going to happen to you. Trust me. Okay, I will be there at 9. I hung up and started getting ready. I showered. I put on black pants and a wine-colored blouse. I pulled back my hair. I put on my silver earrings, the ones I only used on special occasions. Today was a special occasion. I made coffee. I put sweet bread on the table. I set the table as if I were receiving someone important. Because Lucy was important, more important than Jessica could ever be. At 5 to 9, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. There was Lucy. 28 years old, but she looked 35. Hard work ages you. She was wearing worn jeans, old sneakers, a long-sleeved blouse with a bleach stain on the shoulder, her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, no makeup, deep circles under her eyes, but her eyes shone. They always shone. Teacher. She hugged me tight. She smelled of cheap soap and tiredness. Come in, my child, sit down. I led her to the living room. I served her coffee and a pastry. She ate like someone who has not had breakfast. Surely she hadn't. And Sebastian, I asked. With my mom. She watches him while I work. She wiped the crumbs from her lips. Teacher, what do you need me for? I sat in front of her. I took her hands in mine. They were rough, cracked. The hands of a woman who does not stop working. Lucy, do you remember what you wrote me in your 6th grade graduation card? She blushed. Teacher, that was 17 years ago. I do remember. You wrote me. Mrs. Roberts, you taught me that being poor does not mean being less, that with work and education I can get wherever I want. Someday I am going to be a doctor and I am going to help children like me, and it will all be thanks to you. Lucy's eyes filled with tears. I did not become a doctor, she whispered. I'm sorry, teacher. I disappointed you. You did not disappoint me. Life put obstacles in your way that no one should face alone. But you keep fighting, and you are still that brilliant girl who never gives up. And that is worth more than 1,000 university degrees. She dried her tears with the back of her hand. What can I do for you, teacher? I took a deep breath. It was important. I had to say it right. I need you to come with me to do some paperwork today. And after that, I want to give you something. Give me something. Teacher, I cannot accept anything. You already do too much for me. It is my car. She froze. She looked at me as if she had not understood. What? My silver 2010 sedan. I want to give it to you. Today, now, for you. Lucy shook her head, tears now running freely. No, teacher, I cannot. It is your car. You need it. You need it more. You take Sebastian on 3 buses for his therapies. That is 4 hours of commuting every day. With my car, you could do it in 40 minutes. You could work at more houses, earn more, give better therapies to your son. But teacher, my voice became firm. Listen to me well. For 40 years, I was a teacher. I taught hundreds of children. Most forgot about me. Some remember in December, send me a little Christmas message, and that is it. But you have always been there. When I got pneumonia 3 years ago, you came every other day to bring me soup. When I turned 65, you were the only former student who brought me a cake. Every Teacher's Day you send me flowers, even though I know sometimes you do not even have money for your own expenses." She was sobbing now. "It is because you were the only one who believed in me, teacher. When everyone said I was a dumb girl from a poor neighborhood, you told me I was intelligent. You got me the scholarship for middle school. You gave me books. You taught me that I was worth something. And now I want this car to teach you something else. That in this world there are still people who give without expecting anything in return. That unconditional gratitude still exists. That your value does not depend on what you have, but on who you are." I hugged her while she cried on my shoulder. 30 minutes later, we were at the DMV. The paperwork was surprisingly fast. $300. I paid without blinking. In 2 hours, the car was legally in Lucy Cardenas's name. I handed her the keys. She took them with trembling hands. "Teacher, I do not know how to thank you. You already thanked me with years of genuine affection. That is more than my own family has given me." We left the building. The sedan was parked outside, shining under the midday sun. Lucy walked around, touching the hood as if it were not real. "It is mine," she whispered. "Really, it is mine. It is yours." She got in, adjusted the seat. The rearview mirror, put her hands on the steering wheel and closed her eyes. "I am going to take care of it like gold, teacher, I swear. And every time I drive it, I am going to think of you. Just promise me one thing. Anything. When Sebastian is older, when you are better off, when life smiles at you again, pay it forward. Help someone who needs it like I helped you, like you helped me take care of myself when I was sick. Love multiplies when it is shared. I promise, teacher. I promise." She drove off slowly, carefully. I watched her go and felt something I had not felt in months. Peace. I walked back to my house. It was 12:30. At 2 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. I opened the door. There was Jessica dressed in black pants and a white blouse, hair loose, perfect makeup. And behind her, a man of about 50, pot-bellied with a t-shirt that said, "We buy cars." "Hello, Emily. I came for the car keys." Her voice was of anticipated triumph. "This is Mr. Jack. He is going to give you $4,500 in cash, no checks, no transfers. Cash. $4,500 that surely would go straight to her purse." I stood in the doorframe, calm, serene. "Jessica, can you come with me to the garage?" She frowned, confused by my calm tone. "For what?" "Just give me the keys. Come with me." I walked toward the side garage of the house. She and Mr. Jack followed me. We arrived at the space where my sedan always was. Empty. Completely empty. The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then Jessica exploded. "Where is the car?" I looked her in the eyes without fear, without trembling. I gave it away. Her face went through 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, fury, panic, hate. What? I gave it away to someone who truly needed it. Someone who actually deserves my generosity. You are crazy. That car was worth $4,500. It was my car. I decided what to do with it. Mr. Jack cleared his throat, uncomfortable. "Look, lady, if there is no car, I am leaving." "Wait." Jessica grabbed his arm. "She's going to get that car back." "Right, Emily." "No, I am going to sue you. That car was family property." I smiled. That smile that was now my weapon. It was never family property, Jessica. It was my private property. And with what is mine, I do what I please without your permission, without anyone's permission. She took out her phone and dialed frantically. "Michael, your mother gave away the car. Yes, she gave it away. Come here right now." She hung up and looked at me with a hatred she no longer even tried to hide. "This is not going to stay like this, you useless old woman." And it was in that moment when I knew the mask had fallen forever. The true monster had just come to light. There I saw it, the real monster, without costumes, without smiles, just greed and hate. Mr. Jack left mumbling apologies. Jessica and I stood in the empty garage looking at each other like two gladiators in the arena. "I'm going inside my house," I said calmly. "You can leave or stay in the street, but you are not coming in." "Of course I'm coming in. I am going to wait for Michael to arrive." "In the street." I closed the door in her face. I heard her screaming on the other side words I never thought anyone would say to me. Insults that a daughter-in-law should never say to her mother-in-law. But I did not care anymore. I sat in my living room. I poured a glass of water. My hands were not shaking. My heart beat evenly. It was strange. After months of fear, of doubts, of wanting to please everyone, now I only felt clarity. 20 minutes later, I heard Michael's car park outside the door slamming shut. Agitated voices. Jessica crying, screaming, explaining. Then the banging on my door. "Mom, open up." I got up slowly. I opened. Michael was upset, sweaty. He had run out of work. He was still wearing his badge around his neck. Jessica was behind him. Red eyes, makeup, running hair, messed up. She no longer looked like the perfectly groomed woman. She looked like what she was, a desperate woman who had just lost $4,500. "Mom, what did you do?" Michael's voice trembled between confusion and rage. "I gave away my car." "To whom?" "To Lucy Cardenas. Do you remember her? My former student, the one with the son with cerebral palsy. That car was worth money," Jessica screamed from behind. "It was my money," I replied without losing composure. "You had no right." Jessica tried to butt in, but Michael stopped her with his arm. "Mom." Michael took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "We needed that car. Jessica and I had plans. You two have many plans with my things, Michael. But you never ask me, because you are our family. Family is supposed to help each other. Helping is different from stripping. No one is stripping you." Jessica managed to push past and enter my house. "You are an ungrateful old woman. Michael has supported you all your life, and this is how you pay him." I let out a dry laugh without humor. "Michael has supported me. Is that what you told him, Jessica? It is the truth?" I turned to my son. I looked him straight in the eyes. "Michael Roberts, look me in the eyes and tell me, have you ever supported me?" He lowered his gaze. That gave me the answer. "I will refresh your memory." My voice rose for the first time. "I supported you since you were 7 years old. I worked double shifts. I sold pies. I washed other people's clothes. I went to bed without dinner so you could eat. I sold my television to pay for your college admission exam. I paid for your entire degree. And when you graduated, when you started working, the only thing I asked of you was to come see me on Sundays. Nothing more. Not a single dollar. Just your time." Michael swallowed hard. "Mom." And then she arrived. I pointed at Jessica. And Sundays became every 15 days, then once a month, then almost never. And when you did come, it was to ask me for money. $500, $1,200, $2,000, $7,300 in 2 years. "Michael, how much of that have you paid me back?" Silence. Zero. Nothing. And still I never threw it in your face. Because you were my son. Because I thought you needed it. "We needed it," shouted Jessica. "Shut up," I told her with a coldness that made her step back. "You are not part of this conversation. This is between my son and me. I am his wife. You are a leech, Jessica." She came at me. Michael stopped her just in time. "Let go of me. This old woman needs someone to tell her the truth." My truths, I approached her without fear. "Do you want truths, Jessica? I am going to give you truths. I know that when Michael met you, you had $3,500 in credit card debt. I know you were fired from 3 jobs in 2 years. I know the beauty business I put $2,000 of my savings into was a pyramid scheme you knew was going to fail." "How?" Her face turned pale. "Because I am not the idiot old lady you think. Because I hired a private investigator 6 months ago when you started hinting about the power of attorney because my instinct told me something stank. And I was right. I took a folder from the bookcase. I opened it in front of them. Photographs, documents, bank statements. These are your current debts, Jessica. More than $12,000. What have you been spending Michael's salary on? While you go to beauty salons and expensive restaurants with your friends." Michael took the folder. His hands trembled as he turned the pages. "Jessica, is this real? I can explain. And this." Michael pointed to another photo. "Who is this man?" It was a photo of Jessica in a coffee shop with a man of about 35 holding hands. "It is my cousin." "Your cousin lives in another state, Jessica. You said so yourself. This man is named David Sierra. He is a bank manager, married with 2 children and your lover for 8 months." The silence was absolute. Michael let the folder drop. He looked at her as if he had never seen her before. "Are you cheating on me?" "No. That photo is taken out of context. Your mom is lying. The investigator has 23 more photos and videos in hotels, in his car, in apartments rented by the hour." Jessica looked at me with a hatred so pure I could almost touch it. "Why?" whispered Michael with a broken voice. "Why did you marry me if you did not love me?" Jessica did not answer. I answered. "Because she thought you were a fool with a rich mother. She thought I had properties, savings, inheritances. She thought if she married you, she could manipulate you to take everything from me. That is why the constant visits. That is why she searched my drawers. That is why the power of attorney. That is why she wanted to sell my things, put me in a home, make me disappear. Lies." Jessica was hysterical. "It is all lies from this resentful old woman. Resentful." My voice returned to 0. I would be resentful if I had stayed silent, if I had signed your power of attorney, if I had allowed you to lock me in a home while you kept my house. But I am not resentful, Jessica. I am intelligent, something you never were. She lunged at me again. This time, Michael could not stop her in time. She pushed me. I fell onto the sofa. "Go to hell, you bitter old woman. This is all your fault. If you were not so selfish, if you had given us what we asked for, none of this would be happening." Michael grabbed her by the arms and pulled her back. "Get out of here. Get out of my mom's house. Let go of me." I said, "Get out." He literally dragged her to the door. She screamed, cried, kicked. "Michael, do not do this to me. I love you. She is lying to you. She wants to separate us." He put her out on the street and closed the door. Jessica pounded from outside, screaming profanities, threatening, crying. Michael leaned against the door, breathing with difficulty, eyes full of tears. And then he broke. He let himself fall to the floor, back against the door head in his hands. And he cried, like he hadn't cried since he was a boy. "Sorry, Mom," he sobbed. "Forgive me." What did I do? What did I do? I sat on the floor next to him. I put my hand on his back. And for the first time in months, I felt my son had returned. But the pain was barely starting to heal. And the revelations were not over yet. It was then that I took out the manila envelope I had been holding for years. Michael was still on the floor, crying with his face in his hands. Outside, Jessica had stopped screaming. I heard her car start tires screeching against the pavement as she drove away. I stood up slowly. My knees protested. 67 years. They weigh a lot when carrying so much pain. "Michael, get up. Come to the table." He looked at me with swollen red eyes. He looked like a lost child. "Mom, I ruined everything. Everything. Get up." He obeyed like an automaton. He sat in the dining chair, hunched over, defeated. I sat across from him. I put the manila envelope on the table. That yellowish envelope I had kept in my closet for years. The one containing my truth, my secret, my ace up my sleeve. "Before talking about your marriage, about Jessica, about what you are going to do now, I need to show you something." "What is that?" "Your inheritance, or what was going to be your inheritance." He frowned, confused. I opened the envelope. I took out the documents one by one, placing them in front of him like poker cards on the table. First, the deed to the property in the vacation town. Michael took it, read it. His eyes opened wide. This is It is a house, a 2-story house with a garden, half an acre in a private development valued at $400,000. Whose is it? Mine. The paper trembled in his hands. Since when? Since 2010. 15 years ago. 15 years. And you never told me. No. Why? I took a deep breath. This was the hard part, because Mr. Morgan, my neighbor, the man you helped when you were a teenager, left it to me before dying along with his savings and asked me not to tell anyone, to wait to observe and to see who loved me for who I am, not for what I have. I took out the second document. The bank statement's $45,000 in savings plus what the property rent generates, more than $1,000 a month for the last 10 years. Money. I invested, saved, multiplied. Michael looked at the papers as if they were written in another language. Mom, you have $445,000 in total. Yes. He put his hands to his head, closed his eyes. It cannot be. It cannot be. I took out the third document, the one that hurt me most, to show. This is my will, the one I made a year ago, shortly after you married Jessica. I slid it toward him. He read it in silence. His lips moved, forming the words without sound. He finished reading. He looked at me with fresh tears in his eyes. You were going to leave me. Everything. 100%. The townhouse, the savings, this house, everything for you, my only son, Mom. But something started to change. You started to change. The visits became less frequent, the loans more constant, Jessica more aggressive, and I started to doubt. Doubt what? If you really loved me, or if you were just waiting for me to die to inherit. No, Mom. No, I never. Let me finish. I raised my hand. So I made a decision 3 months ago. I went back to the lawyer. I took out the fourth document, the new will dated just 2 months ago. This is my updated will signed August 15th, 2025. I handed it to him. I saw his face go from stupor to absolute horror. Only 30%. Only 30% for me. The remaining 70% is divided among 3 of my former students. Lucy Cardenas, to whom I gave the car this morning. Marcela Oliveira, who takes care of me when I get sick. And Rosario Tellez, who visits me every Sunday to play dominoes and talk. But Mom, I am your son, and they are the ones who treat me like a human being. The ones who call to ask how I am without wanting anything in return. The ones who hug me with genuine affection, not out of interest. I love you, Mom. I love you. Love me now that I am alive, Michael. Not when I am dead. He broke again, cried with deep sobs, the kind that come from the gut. Forgive me. Please forgive me. I was an idiot. A complete idiot. I let Jessica poison me. I let her manipulate me. I failed you. I failed the only person who was always there for me. I stood up. Went around the table, kneel at his side, ignoring the pain in my knees. I took his face in my hands like when he was a boy and needed me to look him in the eyes. Michael, look at me. He opened his eyes, those eyes identical to his father's. I forgive you, really, really. Because you are my son? Because I love you. Because I know the Michael I raised is still in there buried under Jessica's lies. But what? Forgiving does not mean forgetting. Forgiving does not mean everything goes back to how it was before. Forgiving means I am not going to carry the resentment. But trust that has to be rebuilt. And it takes time. The time you need, Mom. Whatever you need. And that will is not going to change. Not for now. I need to see actions, not words. I need to see that you really learned the lesson. He nodded, wiping tears with the back of his hand. And Jessica. Jessica is your problem, not mine. You decide what to do with your marriage. But I am going to tell you something. A woman who cheats on you, who uses you, who manipulates your mother. That woman does not love you. She never loved you. I know. Now I know. He stayed there looking at the documents scattered on the table. My whole financial life exposed, all my secrets revealed. For years, I thought you were a poor teacher barely surviving on your pension, he said finally with a hollow voice. And it turns out you are a millionaire. I am not a millionaire, Michael. I am a woman who learned to be cautious, who learned that money gives you options, but it does not give you love. Who learned that sometimes you have to keep secrets to protect yourself from your own family, from anyone who sees you as a resource, not as a person. A long silence, just the ticking of the wall clock. What do I do now, Mom? Now you go to your house. You are going to think things over well. You are going to decide if you want to continue with Jessica or not. And you are going to start building your own life without depending on me, without expecting my money. Just you. Are you going to let me see you? When you want, but with rules. You call me before coming. You do not bring Jessica unless I authorize it, which is not going to happen soon. And you come because you want to see me, not because you need something. I accept, whatever it is. He got up. I did too. We hugged, a long, tight hug, one of those that say everything words cannot. I love you, Mom. I really love you. And I love you, my boy, always. He left with slumped shoulders, defeated but awake. I saw his car drive away through the window. I sat in my favorite armchair. Silence. My empty, quiet house for the first time in years. That silence did not feel heavy. It felt like peace. I picked up the phone and called Lucy. Teacher, how is the car? Teacher, you have no idea. Sebastian is so happy, he cried with joy. We made the trip to therapy in 35 minutes before it took us 3 hours. I smiled. A warm, genuine smile. I am so glad, my child. Teacher, are you okay? You sound different. I am perfect, Lucy. For the first time in a long time, I am perfect. I hung up. I looked toward the altar. Mr. Morgan watched me from his photograph. You were right, old friend. Vultures only respect those who fly higher than them. And today, I flew. That night, I slept 9 hours straight. Without nightmares, without insomnia, just peace, because I had recovered something more valuable than $400,000. I had recovered my dignity, and no one never again was going to take it from me. I did not seek revenge. I sought to teach them what they never learned, the value of respect. 2 weeks passed since that day. 2 weeks of absolute silence from Jessica. 2 weeks of daily calls from Michael, awkward and nervous at first, then increasingly genuine. Good morning, Mom. How did you sleep? Did you eat breakfast? Do you need me to bring you anything from the store? Today I remembered that it is the anniversary of Dad's death. I am going to take flowers to the cemetery. Do you want to come with me? Small gestures, genuine attempts to reconnect. I responded with caution. With affection, yes, but with clear boundaries. Good morning, son. I am fine. I already ate breakfast. Thank you, but you can come for coffee if you want. Yes, I will go with you, but come alone. And he came alone. The Michael who arrived at my door was no longer the hunched, manipulated man repeating another person's words. He was someone more awake, more conscious, still wounded, but fighting to return. One afternoon in October, he arrived with a grocery bag. I brought you those cookies you like and some coffee. Thanks, son. I made coffee. We sat at the dining table like before, like when everything was simpler. Mom, I have to tell you something. My heart tensed. Here it came. Tell me. I am getting divorced from Jessica. I said nothing, just waited. I already spoke with a lawyer. It is a divorce for cause, proven adultery. I have the photos you gave me, and the investigator got more evidence. Videos, messages, everything. How do you feel? He let out a bitter laugh. Like an idiot. Like the dumbest man on the planet. I was married 3 years to someone who never loved me, who only used me, and I was happy believing I was loved. You are not an idiot. You were naive. There is a difference. Which one? The idiot does not learn. The naive one does. He drank his coffee. His hands trembled slightly. Jessica tried to contact me. She sent me like 100 messages crying, saying everything was a lie. that you invented the photos, that this David is just a friend, that I am the love of her life. And what did you tell her? Nothing. I blocked her everywhere. Phone, WhatsApp, social media, everything. I do not want to hear from her ever again. And did she accept it? No. She went to my job, made a scene, crying in front of all my coworkers, saying I was abandoning her without reason, that my mom brainwashed me. I sighed. I am sorry, son. Do not be sorry. She dug her own grave. Security escorted her out of the building. My boss called me to his office. I explained the situation. He was understanding, but he told me if she returns, he will have to call the police. Silence. I also found out more things. Michael continued, voice increasingly broken, that David is not the only one. There was another before, and another before that. Jessica has a pattern. She looks for men with some money, marries or moves in with them, squeezes them until leaving them with nothing, and then moves to the next. How did you know? The investigator kept looking, found her ex-boyfriend, an accountant like me. She did the same to him, left him with a $20,000 debt. The poor guy is still paying off the cards she used. I got up, went around the table, hugged my son from behind. I am so sorry, Michael. Me too, Mom. Sorry for exposing you to that. Sorry for bringing that viper into our family. It is over now. Do you really forgive me? I told you already. I forgive you. But trust takes time. He nodded against my shoulder. 3 weeks later, a Saturday morning, someone knocked on my door. I opened. Jessica. But not the groomed, perfect, controlled Jessica. This was another woman. Unwashed hair in a messy bun, no makeup, deep circles, dirty jeans, old hoodie. Emily, what do you want? To talk, please. Just 5 minutes. Everything in me said to close the door, but something, maybe curiosity, maybe the need to close the circle, made me take a step back. 5 minutes at the door. You are not coming in. She stayed on the threshold looking at the floor. I came to apologize. I do not believe you. It is the truth. I know I messed up. I know I ruined everything. I know I never should have treated you how I treated you. Is that all you came to say? I came to ask you to talk to Michael, to tell him to give me another chance, that I have changed, that I... And there it was. The real reason. I am not going to do that. Emily, please. He listens to you. If you tell him to forgive me, he will do it. Exactly. He listens to me. That is why I am not going to ask him to do something that will destroy him again. I love him. No, you love what he represents. Stability. A fool easy to manipulate. Access to me. To my money. That is not true. Then why were you unfaithful? Why did you use him? Why was every conversation you had with me to get something out of me? Silence. She had no answer. Jessica, I am going to tell you something, and I want you to listen carefully. My voice was firm. My son deserves someone who loves him for real, who values him, who does not see him as a means to get money. You never were that person, and you never will be. You are a bitter old woman who cannot stand seeing her son happy. And there it was again, the true monster. Without masks, my son was not happy with you. He was your prisoner. He chose me, not you, and now he has stopped choosing you. Live with it. I closed the door. She screamed from outside. Poisonous words, empty threats. This is not going to stay like this. You are going to regret it. You are a... I listened no more. I turned up the radio volume. 10 minutes later, she left. She never returned. The divorce was finalized 3 months later in December 2025. Michael did not give her a single cent. She could not fight. Adultery was proven. The last I heard of her was that she moved to another state, with another man, another accountant, another naive soul. Some people never learn. But it was no longer my problem. My problem was rebuilding my relationship with my son. And little by little, Visit after visit, coffee after coffee, we began. Michael started coming every Sunday, alone, asking for nothing, just to talk. He told me about his job, about his plans, about how he was learning to live alone. It is weird, Mom. I have never really lived alone. From your house, I went straight to live with Jessica. Now I have to learn to cook, to wash my clothes, to fill my own loneliness. That is good. You need to know yourself. Do you think someday I can trust someone again? Yes. But first, learn to trust yourself, in your instincts, in your value. One afternoon in January 2026, he arrived with something in his hand, a white envelope. What is that? Open it. Inside was a check for $7,300. Michael, this is everything I lent you. What you lent me with interest. It took me 4 months to gather it. I stopped eating out. I sold things I did not need. I did extra work. But here it is. Payment in full. My eyes filled with tears. You did not have to do it. Yes, I did. Because when one borrows, one pays back. That is how you taught me. And I had forgotten. I hugged him tight. I am proud of you. I do not deserve it yet. But I am going to deserve it. I promise you. And he kept his promise. In the following months, Michael transformed. Slow but steady. He started therapy, learned about toxic relationships, about codependency, about boundaries. He started becoming the man I always knew he could be, and I started to loosen boundaries, to trust again. The will stayed the same, 30% for him, 70% for my former students. But it was no longer a punishment. It was a reminder. A reminder that love is shown with actions, not with words. That family is not just blood. It is who accompanies you in the good and the bad. One afternoon in April, drinking coffee in my garden, Michael asked me, "Someday are you going to change the will?" I do not know. Does it bother you? No. Well, a little. I am human, but I understand why you did it. And I understand that Lucy, Marcella, and Rosario deserve it as much as I do, maybe more. Michael, the important thing is not what you have when I die. The important thing is that you have me while I am alive. He smiled, a clean, genuine smile. You are right. Not always. But in this, yes. Sundays became sacred again. Michael came. Sometimes he brought food. Sometimes we cooked together. We always talked. About everything. About nothing. About life. Like before. Like it always should have been. If this story teaches you something, let it be this. Never let anyone steal your value for fear of being alone. 8 months have passed since that Tuesday when Jessica entered my house demanding my car keys. 8 months that seem like a whole lifetime. I'm sitting in my garden. It is a Saturday in June, 4 in the afternoon. The sun warms gently. I have a cup of coffee in my hands and a light blanket over my legs. It is not cold. I just like feeling tucked in. I look at the empty space where my silver sedan used to be, and I smile, because that day I did not lose a car. That day I recovered my dignity. Life after the storm is different, quieter, clearer. Like when you clean a dirty window, and suddenly you can see the whole landscape. Michael comes every Sunday without fail, sometimes during the week too. He no longer carries another person's shadow. He no longer repeats borrowed words. He is himself again. Or maybe him for the first time. He divorced Jessica in February. The process was faster than expected. She did not fight much. I suppose she understood there was no point. Or maybe she already had her next victim. My son now lives alone in a small one-bedroom apartment. He cooks, washes his clothes, pays his bills. He is learning to be a complete man, not half of someone. Mom, he told me 2 weeks ago while we were washing dishes together. I think I was never really an adult until now. I always depended on someone, on you, then on Jessica. I never learned to be alone. And how does it feel? Terrifying, but also liberating. I hugged him with hands full of soap. The will stays the same, 30% for Michael, 70% for Lucy, Marcella, and Rosario. And do you know something? That decision no longer hurts me, because those 3 women have given me more love in these 8 months than many people in their whole life. Lucy comes every 2 weeks. She brings Sebastian, who now walks a little better, thanks to constant therapies that she can pay because she no longer wastes 4 hours daily on public transport. He is 6 years old. He calls me Grandma Emily. Every time he does, my heart overflows. The car is still perfect. Lucy takes care of it like a treasure. She washes it every week, does punctual services. She says that car changed her life, and I know it is true. Marcella, another former student, is a nurse. She comes to measure my blood pressure every week. She never charges me. She says it is the least she can do for the teacher who paid for her high school uniform, when her family could not. Rosario is the youngest, 25 years old. She studies law at the public university, works part-time and studies part-time. She comes every Sunday afternoon, after Michael leaves, and we play dominoes until 8 at night. We talk about everything, about her dreams, her fears, her disastrous boyfriends about whom I give advice, which she never follows. She makes me laugh like no one else. These 3 women are my family, not because they share my blood, but because they shared my life when no one else wanted to. The townhouse, the escape house remains rented. That money I now use in another way. Scholarships for alumni without resources, groceries for families in need, medicines for elderly neighbors without a pension. Mr. Morgan left me that money to protect me. Now I use it to protect others. I think he would be proud. Sometimes I see his photograph on my altar and speak to him as if he were listening. You were right, old friend, about everything. Money brings out the worst in people, but it can also bring out the best when you use it well. You taught me to fly higher than the vultures, and I did. My pension is enough for me. I live alone without luxuries, but without lack as I have always lived. The difference is that now no one tells me what to do with my money, how to live my life, or treats me like a burden, and that is priceless. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if that day I had given in, if I had given the car keys to Jessica, if I had signed the power of attorney, if I had accepted donating 60% of my pension. Today, I would be living on $600 a month in some cheap nursing home without a car, without autonomy, without dignity. Michael would still be married to Jessica, being her puppet, unhappy without knowing it. And I would be dying while alive. But I did not give in. That day I smiled, and that smile changed everything, because it was not a smile of defeat. It was a smile of strategy, of power, of someone who has an ace up her sleeve and is ready to use it. Now, sitting in my garden, drinking my coffee and feeling the warm sun on my face, I realize something. I am 67 years old. Statistically, maybe I have 15 or 20 good years of life left, maybe less, maybe more, nobody knows. But this I do know. I am going to live those years, surrounded by those who value me, not those who calculate my value. I am going to live free, independent owner of my decisions. I am going to die with dignity, not as a victim, but as a survivor. And if this story I have told you serves for something, if you can take away a single lesson, let it be this. Never ever allow anyone to make you feel less than what you are worth. It does not matter if it is your son, your daughter-in-law, your husband, your family, whoever. If someone treats you like a nuisance, like a burden, like a resource, get away, because staying out of fear of loneliness is dying while alive. And believe me, loneliness is better company than people who despise you. Learn to keep your aces. You do not have to show everything you have, everything you know, everything you are worth. Wait, observe, and when the right moment comes, when someone believes they can strip you, that is where you show your true power. Michael has changed for real. He has changed. I see it in his eyes, in his actions, in the way he talks to me now. Will I change the will someday? Maybe yes, maybe no. The important thing is that now he understands that my love is not measured in money, that my value as a mother does not depend on what I leave him, that I am not a bank, I am his mother. And mothers deserve respect, always. I finish my coffee, the sun begins to set. Soon it will be time to prepare dinner. Tomorrow is Sunday. Michael will come at 2. As always, he will bring rotisserie chicken and tortillas. I will make rice and beans. We will eat together. We will talk. We will laugh like a real family. And in the afternoon, Rosario will arrive with her domino box and her university stories. My house will fill with voices, with laughter, with life, not greed, not manipulation, not pain, but genuine love. And that is the only thing that really matters in the end. I get up from my chair, take the empty cup look for the last time at the space where my car used to be. Thank you, old friend, I whisper to the wind. You were more than a car. You were my instrument of justice, my way of recovering what had been taken from me, my dignity. I enter my house, close the door, and feel peace, a deep, complete peace, the kind of peace only known to those who fought for it and won it. I am 67 years old. My name is Emily Roberts. I was a teacher for 40 years, and I taught hundreds of children to read to add to respect. But the most important lesson I gave in my life was the last one, the one I taught my son and his manipulative wife. The lesson that dignity is not negotiated, not sold, not given away. Dignity is defended with intelligent smiles, with strategy, with aces kept up the sleeve, and with the courage to say up to here and not one step further. If my story touched your heart, if it made you remember something you lived or are living, I invite you to leave your comment down here. Tell me, have you ever had to defend your dignity? Have you set boundaries for someone you thought you loved? You are not alone. You are not alone. Thousands of us have gone through the same, and we all deserve respect. If you believe that mothers, grandmothers, and older women should be treated with dignity and not as a burden, like this video and subscribe so you do not miss the next stories. And tell me in the comments from what country, from what city are you accompanying me today? Although you are on the other side of the screen, I want you to remember something. You are not alone. You are not alone. I am with you, and your dignity is worth more than all the gold in the world. Never forget it.